if you're not vocalizing, you're internalizing. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Natasha. In today's video, I am recapping one of my TikTok videos that actually went viral, where I talked about 10 things that I learned after ending my 10-year relationship, being engaged for the last 2 years of it, and 2 weeks prior to the wedding, calling everything off. So a lot of people had a lot of questions, and I'm just gonna go a little bit more in detail about what I learned. And then not only what I learned, but what it is to be in a committed relationship, what are some red flags to look for. And obviously, when you're in a relationship so young, you tend to grow individually, and sometimes instead of growing together, you grow apart, and that's exactly what happened in my case. So let's just get into it. I also have a podcast episode where I give all the details in terms of exactly what happened. So you'll have story time there. If you want to listen to it, I'll link it down below. So let's start off with lesson number 1. If he wanted to, he would. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if a man is interested, if a man loves you, if a man wants to work with you so that you guys can continue to be together and continue to love each other and continue to nurture the relationship, he would. There's no excuse. There should be no doubt in your mind or questions in your mind about the status of the relationship, or about whether he loves you enough, or about whether he wants to stay with you long term because he makes you feel that secure. If that security and that safety isn't there, then there's something wrong. Just knowing that your intuition and your gut never lie, and always listening to that inner voice is key. If he wants to take you out, if he wants to marry you, if he wants to go to couples therapy together because you guys are not seeing eye to eye on certain things, whatever it is, he would. There should be no excuses. So just keep that in mind. Number 2, if he's lying about the small things, he's definitely lying about the big things. You know, we all do white lies, but when there's no reason to lie about something and you catch someone lying about something that's really simple, it's like, well, what else are you lying about? Someone tells you something as simple as, oh, I've never smoked weed before, and you happen to catch them in a lie, knowing that they have done it, and then they say, yeah, I did it, I just didn't want you to feel some type of way about it, then what else are you lying to me about? I mean, if that's something that's pretty small in retrospect, what else are you holding from me because you don't want to get a reaction out of me? And so obviously, you know, you keep this in mind, you keep a mental note, and it's like, okay, let's see, you know, how it continues to go. But more likely than not, someone that does lie about the minuscule things will also lie about the bigger things, because if they feel like you can't handle something as small as that, then what's to say how you're going to blow up about the bigger things? Communication is key, and being able to express to your partner or your significant other that, hey, I don't appreciate you assuming that I'm going to react a certain way, and therefore you're holding back or withholding information or omitting certain things. It's important for us to move forward with honesty and with openness. So can you do that going forward? And, you know, expressing how you feel about that may or may not change things, but it's always key to vocalize your feelings about certain things. Number 3, pick your battles. Not everything deserves an argument. So you have to decide whether something is worth fighting about. And you want to make sure you're checking yourself before you go ahead and talk to the other person about certain things. Not everything deserves to be a discussion or deserves to turn into an argument. Figuring out your non-negotiables and your negotiables. It's like, if I can live without this, is it going to matter in 5 hours? Is it going to matter in 5 years? Just always make sure that you check in with yourself first. You can journal about certain things. You can talk to certain family members or friends. This is a little tricky though, because you don't want to involve other people too much into your relationship. One, they don't know really what happens behind closed doors. You're always telling your version. They don't know the other person's version. And number 2, you want to minimize the amount of opinions that other people have on your relationship, because then that starts to affect you and affect how you look at it, and you don't want that. And 3, it can sort of have the other people resenting your significant other for whatever it is that he's or she is putting you through. It's a fine line between the two. But always checking with yourself first, journaling about something, meditating on it, sitting on it, right? Like sleep on it. And if you feel super strongly about it the next day, that's when you say something. But don't be impulsive, because impulsivity can really be the demise of a relationship. If you're continuously impulsive about certain things, how long can the other person take it for? Number 4, if he doesn't post pictures of you on social media or he doesn't show you off, that's a red flag. And I don't mean if he's not on social media at all, then he should create a social media and post you. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, if he's an active social media user and if he's posting stories and posting in feed, and clearly he's a consumer as well, there's no reason why he can't or she can't post you here and there just to, show off like, this is my girl, this is my man, right? I think it's, for me, for example, because I am a social media user and I'm very active, I don't mind posting my significant other, especially if I'm really grateful for the relationship we have and the union we have. I want to be able to express that with the people that are on my platform. If the other person is more private, that's totally understandable. But I just feel like, in my personal experience, I feel like I wasn't being posted because of the fact that he wasn't doing right by my side. It's just something to look out for, right? And again, if the person isn't active, then there's no need to worry about it. I'm just saying if there's an active use of it, then it's normal or it's okay to want to be posted and post back. And let's just put social media aside. Let's just say you're out and about, and a sign of affection, something as simple as holding their hands. If you see that your partner is not really okay with holding your hand in public or giving you pet kisses or hugging you, if it's kind of like a cold sentiment about it, just keep that in mind and then just move forward with it. In time, you'll see what it is that you want out of the relationship and what you feel like you need and what you feel like you deserve, and you'll act accordingly. Number 5, if he hangs out with his friends way too much, that's just not going to end well. And I'm not saying don't have a social life, right? I have a very good group of friends and I love to spend quality time with my friends. I love to go out to dinner, go out to brunch, maybe do a nightclub once in a while. Like, I love my friends and I love talking to them on the phone. I love to text. However, it's different when your significant other wants to constantly go out on the weekends with his friends and engage in nightlife, drinking, partying. And if you feel like it's constant, it's like, well, I'm at home. Wouldn't you want to hang out with me? If it's done more often than not, then that's just not gonna sit well with somebody who's a homebody, right? So being mindful of the lifestyle that you both live and making sure that it aligns with each other. Because if you have two different lifestyles, more often than not, it's not gonna work out long term. In my personal experience, I became a homebody and my significant other was more of the person that wanted to go out with his friends and go on boys trips and go out at night and drink and party. And it wasn't to say that it was every single weekend, but it was often enough to make me feel some type of way. And if I'm feeling some type of way about it and I'm expressing myself about it and it's still happening and things aren't changing, then that just means that we're not seeing eye to eye and something's got to give. If neither one of us is compromising, then it's not going to work out. And this goes to my next point of number 6. If you have different lifestyles, it's not going to work out. So when you have two people that have different money dials, you have to watch out for that. In my case, I was a homebody and my significant other really enjoyed going out and hanging out with friends. And there came a point in time where I just got fed up. And it's almost like, okay, if I'm expressing to you how I feel about it and the fact that I don't like it and that I want it to be, more minimal and there really isn't some kind of change, or the change isn't drastic enough to where I feel like it's okay with what I want or what I need, then I have to change the way I respond or the way I react, and I have to make a choice. Because at the end of the day, we all have choices. If we decide to stick with something, that's a choice. And if we decide to not stick with something, that's also a choice. It's just what's the better choice for you. When you have different money dials and different goals, it might clash. And so that's something that you do have to consider long term. I think it's finances and cheating that are the top 2 reasons why people divorce. So if you have very different financial thinking, that's definitely going to cause friction. If you guys have different commitment levels to each other, that's also going to cause friction. 7, if he doesn't like to talk about his feelings, then more likely than not, he's holding a lot back. And that's definitely a red flag. Communication is key in any relationship you have, whether it's an intimate relationship you have with your significant other, whether it's a friendship, whether it's the relationship you have with your parents, your siblings, other family members. It is key to communicate and verbalize what you're feeling and what you would want, what you would expect. And so if you're not vocalizing, you're internalizing. And what happens when you keep it all in? There comes a point in time when you're just gonna blow up. And it's gonna blow up intensely. It's gonna blow up out of proportion, right? The person is gonna be like, wait, what? This caught me off guard. I didn't know you were feeling this type of way. Since when have you been feeling this type of way? And it's like, well, yeah, because you've bottled it all up. And so it's really, really important to be able to express yourself in a manner where you're not arguing and you're not trying to control anyone, but you're really just saying, hey, this makes me feel this way, and I just wanted to let you know about it. I don't want to act some type of way towards you because of it, but I just really want to make it known that this is how I've been feeling, and maybe this is something that we could work on together. I made the mistake of internalizing a lot of things because I didn't want to cause commotion or I didn't want to cause an argument. And for me, I'm just a people pleaser. So I also don't want people to be upset with me. But what does that do to me? That causes me to love myself a little less, right? Because I'm not honoring my boundaries, because I'm not honoring what I want and what I feel like I deserve. It's not okay. So making sure that you communicate effectively and efficiently with your loved ones is key, especially in a committed relationship, because things can go south real quick, and you want to make sure that you are able to work through the small things without letting something fester and get super big where you feel like there's no turning back, and then it's just like, well, the next option is just to leave the relationship. And sometimes you can save the relationship. Number 8, the moment you stop dating each other is the moment that things become routine. And that's not good at all. I remember when I used to work at the Hilton hotels, I used to ask almost every couple that I came across to, what is the secret to a long-lasting, healthy marriage? And I kid you not, most of them had the same answer, which is never stop dating. One of my really good best friends, her and her husband have an understanding that every Friday night they're gonna go out to dinner together. And that's their time to spend with each other, no cell phones. And I think that's beautiful, because a lot of the times we get caught up in everyday life, and before you know it, you haven't really dedicated time to each other, but you're dedicating time to everything else. And then what happens? If you don't nurture and nourish your relationship, it starts to dwindle. So you want to make sure to keep it alive. Do something spontaneous, do something fun, do something that's not the norm, right? Like, make sure you're incorporating trips, activities, dinners, do things that are going to just bring the fun out of each of you, becoming kids again. I think that's just the simplest way of putting it. Like, I love to bring out my inner child to play, and I feel like if I can do that with my partner, that's the best. Number 9, couples therapy may or may not work. I personally did couples therapy twice with my ex, and one, we didn't even last long. Like, I think we did maybe max like 6 sessions. And now that I've been in therapy, individual therapy, for over a year and a half, you clearly know that 6 sessions is just not enough, especially when you have deep-rooted issues. In our case, it didn't work because we didn't really give it a shot, and we didn't continue the sessions and continue the work, not just inside the therapy room, but outside of the therapy room with the exercises and all of that. So if both parties are willing to put in the time and effort to really dedicate to fixing the issues going on with a third party, with a therapist, a mediator, whatever it is, then it can work. But if it's not really given its proper care, then it's just not going to work. And in my case, it really didn't work. And I mean, I guess we tried, but it's just, there also comes a point where you both have to want it bad enough. And if one wants it bad enough and the other one doesn't, then it's just not gonna work. And last but not least, number 10, always love yourself first. when you put another person's feelings above your own, you start caring and loving yourself a little less. And so it's very, very important to not lose yourself in a relationship. And I think women, we tend to do that a lot. We tend to give it our all and really just forget about ourselves and prioritize the other person. And then when we don't have that other person in our lives, we really feel it, right? Because we haven't been nurturing our own selves or pouring into our own cup for such a long time that we don't even know what that feels like anymore. For me personally, I know I felt like I lost myself after ending my 10-year relationship because it was all about him. He was my entire routine. I didn't know what it was to really cater to myself in a way because I was doing it all for him. And so it's not his fault. It was more so my fault. And so, you know, you live and you learn, and you have to really prioritize your self-care, your self-love, pouring into you, like what are your interests, what are your hobbies, really taking care of yourself, even though you're in a relationship or in a partnership, because you can't give from an empty cup. When you love yourself, it attracts those around you and it attracts the love that you have for other people. And so just remember that you have to love yourself first. And when you do love yourself and you care about yourself and you value yourself and you find your self-worth, just know that you're not going to tolerate anything less than you deserve. And you're not going to stay in a situation out of comfort because you know what it is that you can offer, so you expect it in return as well. So just keep that in mind. And if you guys have any questions, comments, anything like that, I'm more than happy to dive a little deeper. Go listen to the podcast episode if you guys want to know details on exactly what happens between my ex and I, and why my 10-year relationship ended after 2 years of being engaged, and 2 weeks prior to the wedding we called everything off. So the link is below. Let me know if you guys want more videos like this, relationship related. I have so many good gems. I mean, it was 10 years. I am now 30, so I started when I was 20 years old, or 19. Yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Mwah!